To finish off the Halloweek festivities this year, I thought it would be fitting to end with arguably the most recognizable Halloween-themed comic of all time, Batman The Long Halloween. It's a Dark Knight Halloween special that's 13 issues in length, that were released monthly between December of 1996 and December of 1997, making it the longest storyline I have ever reviewed on the channel thus far. In June, Gotham crime lord Carmine the Roman Falcone is holding a wedding for his nephew Johnny Vitti, one he is paying for, to silence him so he doesn't tell the grand jury of the extortion and murder perpetrated by his organization. Falcone intends to launder money through the Gotham City Bank that Bruce Wayne is a board member of, and asks him to comply. Bruce refuses, but Carmine is confident that they have enough votes already to make it happen. Bruce intends to leave the party to go to work, but is stopped by Selina Kyle. The two decide to dance and stay a little longer. In Carmine's office, his bodyguard notices District Attorney Harvey Dent on one of the security cameras in the building's garage. He's writing down license plates, but before long is beat up by a group of Falcone's men for sticking his nose where it doesn't belong. As Bruce and Selina leave the party, they find Dent, who thanks them, but feels as members of the rich society they wouldn't understand what he's doing and should just go back to doing whatever it is that rich people do. As Dent walks off, Bruce tells Selina he's contributed to Dent's campaign for district attorney, that he believes in Harvey Dent. Later, Harvey arrives at the GCPD to speak with Commissioner Gordon. Gordon warned him about taking risks, and explains that Falcone has them outmanned, though a friend of his wants to help. Batman enters the penthouse of Falcone to search his safe, but when he gets there, someone else has gotten to it first. It's Catwoman, and the two have a quick scuffle. Falcone's men enter and begin firing at them, but Batman and Catwoman escape with the help of a smoke pellet. The Dark Knight pursues her to find out why she was there, but she gets away as the bat signal is activated. Batman arrives at the GCPD, where Gordon and Dent are waiting for him. They talk about the law, how Batman sometimes walks the fine line of it, something Dent appreciates, and that no one should be above it, even Carmine Falcone. All three of them agree to form an alliance to stop the crime lord once and for all, by bending the rules but making sure not to break them. In July, Bruce attempts to stop the vote, allowing the partnership between the bank and Falcone Imports, but all the board members focus on are the millions the bank would receive, the dirty money. Batman pays a visit to the current president, Richard Daniel, and intimidates him, causing him to resign and allowing Bruce Wayne to take over. In retaliation, Falcone has his newly wedded nephew, Johnny Vitti, kill Daniel in September, gunning him down in a drive-by. Interestingly though, Vitti is then murdered by an unknown assailant on Halloween, with only a jack-o'-lantern, an untraceable .22 caliber pistol, and a nipple from a baby bottle used as a silencer found at the scene. Batman finds Catwoman listening in on their conversation on a nearby rooftop. She gives him information leading him and Dent to a warehouse, where Falcone has been forced to stash his untraceable money, tens of millions of dollars worth. They set fire to it to send a message to Carmine, but Falcone retaliates by hiring a group of hitmen that blow up Dent's home. On Thanksgiving, Batman and Commissioner Gordon interrogate the leader of this hitman group that call themselves the Irish, named Mickey Sullivan. He was the one responsible for killing Harvey Dent because Batman found a nail at the scene that was part of the bomb and tracked its serial number to the source, also who bought it. The Dark Knight had captured Mickey earlier, after a chase which led him into the sewers, and face-to-face with Solomon Grundy. Batman is forced to fight the undead zombie briefly, but is able to cause him to flee before taking Sullivan to the GCPD. When Gordon and Batman couldn't get any information out of Sullivan, they switched him out with a fake who tries to convince his accomplices to reveal the identity of the man who hired them, Carmine Falcone. It doesn't work though, and the hitmen make bail within the hour. The fake Mickey is also revealed to be Harvey Dent, who survived the explosion along with his wife, though she is currently in the hospital, where Dent spends the rest of his Thanksgiving. The Irish celebrate with a meal too, but are also killed by an unknown assailant, who leaves behind another pistol, silencer, and a Thanksgiving decoration. The newspapers have dubbed this killer Holiday, which convinces Batman and Gordon that they need some help. They go to Julian Day, the calendar man, because he shares a similar MO to the killer. They both seem to commit crimes coinciding with specific calendar dates. On Christmas, Harvey Dent buys a new house for him and his wife, who has just been released from the hospital. The Joker is inside though, acting like a real Grinch. The word on the street is that Dent is Holiday, and Joker threatens him to back off. There's only room for one homicidal maniac in Gotham. Joker goes to the penthouse of Carmine Falcone and tells him to find Holiday before he is forced to kill everyone in Gotham in search for him. On his way out, Carmine's bodyguard, Milo Scrappa, tries to stop him, but Joker gets away after throwing some playing cards. As Grappa tries to get up and find his gun, he is killed by Holiday, who leaves a snow globe along with another pistol and silencer by his body. On New Year's Eve, the Joker steals a crop duster and intends on killing everyone in Gotham Square with his laughing gas, believing Holiday must be among them. In Gotham Harbor, Carmine Falcone is holding a New Year's party and has invited his rival, Sal Maroni, who he threatens because his men seem to not be targeted by the Holiday killer. Just then, Carmine's son, Alberto, is shot and thrown overboard, leaving a trail of blood in the water. As the clock strikes midnight, Batman manages to subdue the Joker and pull his unconscious body out of the plane as it crashes into the water. On Valentine's Day, Carmine Falcone visits the grave of Alberto, and Batman is waiting for him. The Dark Knight asks him if everything has been worth it, the death of his son. Later, Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle are dancing at the opera, and a strange woman appears selling roses. Bruce buys one, but is cut on the hand by one of its thorns. Holiday blows up a car housing several of Maroni's men, which strikes a few off from the other side, and leaves a box of chocolates at the scene. When Bruce arrives back at home, he is seemingly mesmerized by the rose he had bought, and is lured out to his backyard by Poison Ivy. In March, Bruce Wayne speaks at the monthly board meeting at the bank, and reverses his decision, allowing the bank to start laundering money for Carmine Falcone. He leaves the building and hops into a car with Ivy, which Selina notices. Back at Wayne Manor, they dine together, but Catwoman barges in to rescue him. Bruce attacks Selina, but she manages to reveal the vines that are wrapped around his body and cuts them up, freeing him from Ivy's control. Batman thanks Catwoman later on top of the GCPD, telling her that Wayne is a friend. When he asks her why she is helping, she says he will know in time. Batman also has to undo all the damage Poison Ivy has caused. On April Fool's Day, the Holiday killer targets Edward Nygma, the Riddler. In a surprising turn of events, though, he spares him. On Mother's Day, Batman returns to Arkham Asylum to speak to Calendar Man, hoping he can shed light onto why Holiday didn't kill Nygma. Calendar Man believes it's just because of the date itself. He was fooling everyone. Batman is forced to leave, however, when he learns that Jonathan Crane, the Scarecrow, has escaped his cell using a rope of straw. He finds Scarecrow on horseback and tackles him, but it was all a ruse. In Chinatown, at Chong's tea house, Holiday kills the man known as Gunsmith, who had been creating the pistols he left at the crime scenes. Bruce Wayne is arrested and placed behind bars by Harvey Dent and James Gordon, who believe him to be loyal to Carmine Falcone due to his father, Thomas Wayne, saving Falcone's life after he was shot as a young man. On Father's Day, Alfred testifies in court with Harvey as prosecutor, wondering why Thomas Wayne didn't file a report proving his innocence long ago. But Alfred mentions the corruption within the police force at the time, and the fact that Thomas and Martha Wayne were murdered a few months later. Bruce Wayne is acquitted shortly afterwards. Sal Maroni speaks with his father and says he can testify against Falcone, but his father is then killed by Holiday, who shoots him from behind the bushes. In Gotham Central Park, the Scarecrow, having recently escaped Arkham Asylum, is working alongside the Mad Hatter. As the two bicker, they are interrupted by Carmine Falcone, who used his wealth and influence to get them both out of Arkham so they could aid him with the Gotham Bank Depository. When Harvey Dent is brought to his office by his assistant, he is met with Sal Maroni, who feels the two of them can work together to bring Falcone down. On the 4th of July, the Gotham City coroner is killed as the fireworks light up the sky. Harvey Dent activates the bat signal on top of the GCPD and tells Batman that he was wrong about Bruce Wayne and that he has made a deal with Sal Maroni that will result in his confession in court. When everything is said and done, Dent plans on leaving Gotham for a while. In prison, Maroni is visited by Carmine Falcone's daughter, Sophia, along with Harvey Dent's assistant, who has been paid off. She reminds Sal that while she was in prison, she never betrayed him. Harvey Dent is the true enemy of all crime in Gotham, and everyone will benefit if he is taken out of the picture. Sal needs to do the right thing. Bizarrely, more fireworks are set off in the city, which is suspicious seeing as they were already set off earlier in the night. They are revealed to be small rockets that contain Scarecrow's potent fear toxin. Scarecrow and the Mad Hatter are using them to break into the Gotham Depository and steal all the money. Thankfully, Batman arrives to stop them, putting one and one together and realizing Carmine Falcone is behind it all. The Dark Knight makes short work of Scarecrow, breaking a few of his ribs, and Catwoman even lends a hand and takes out Mad Hatter before he can shoot Batman from behind. The Dark Knight asks if Catwoman wants to help him take down Falcone, but she turns him down. In August, nearly a year after the first holiday murder was committed, Batman confronts Edward Nygma, who is drunk in a pub, believing he saw the face of the killer and knows who he or she is. Sadly, Riddler has no clue, but Batman thinks Falcone does. Hell, he might even be Holiday for that matter. Who knows? The day of the trial arrives, and Sal Maroni prepares to give his statement. On his way in, Dent's corrupted assistant hands him a bottle of stomach medicine for his ulcer. The DA calls Maroni to the stand, and he begins to confess. Before Sal can officially throw Falcone under the bus, though, his ulcer starts acting up, and he reaches into his coat pocket for his medicine. Before Dent can react, Maroni hurls the contents of the bottle at his face, causing him to fall on the ground in agony, as Maroni is apprehended. In the hospital, Dent is treated for facial scarring, the result of acid, but his surgeon comes out to tell Commissioner Gordon and Dent's wife Gilda that Harvey has escaped, having been stabbed in the back by him. By September, Harvey has been missing for close to a month. In his briefcase, the police find a .22 caliber handgun and various documents containing names and records pertaining to Carmine Falcone. They believe Harvey Dent has been the holiday killer all along. Batman doesn't believe it though, and refuses to until he can find and speak to Dent himself. On Labor Day, he goes to Arkham to speak with Calendar Man once again, hoping to get a clue that will lead him to Dent's whereabouts. Calendar Man tells him that before the night is through, Holiday will most likely target something Batman has. The Dark Knight believes he is referring to Sal Maroni in police custody, and contacts Gordon, who intends to have him moved. As they escort him out, Maroney is shot twice from behind. The armored guard leaps at the assailant before getting shot himself and falling to the ground. Gordon shines his flashlight at the holiday killer, revealing him to be Alberto Falcone. The armored guard gets up, having easily survived the bullets thanks to his Kevlar vest. He subdues Alberto, and it's revealed to be Batman in disguise. Gordon then arrests Falcone, and the holiday killer is finally apprehended. Alberto's father comes to see him at the GCPD. Carmine tells him he can have him out of there as long as Alberto agrees to forget all of this holiday nonsense. This angers his son, though, who explains that Carmine, and even his father before him, wouldn't allow Alberto into the family business. He explains that Gotham has changed, and organized crime has no place in it anymore. As Holiday, he has become bigger than anyone in the Falcone family will ever be. On Halloween night, the inmates of Arkham Asylum are being set free. When the man responsible reaches the cell for Calendar Man, he flips a coin and decides to keep him there, turning off the lights as he departs. Mad Hatter, Solomon Grundy, the Joker, Penguin, Poison Ivy, Scarecrow, Catwoman, and even the mysterious figure lurking in the dark all arrive at Carmine Falcone's office, in his penthouse. The leader reveals himself as Harvey Dent, now going by the name Two-Face. He intends to kill Falcone and put an end to everything once and for all. They are interrupted by a smoke grenade, as Batman makes his entrance, falling into the room from above. Using the cover, he easily disposes of all the villains, and when he reaches for Catwoman and asks her which side she is on, she tells him the same as always. Two-Face manages to grab Falcone and tells Batman that the justice system doesn't work, that the decision is made with a flip of a coin. Two-Face's coin lands bad side up, and he plugs Carmine with 2 bullets to the head, killing him. Batman tries to remind Harvey that he still believed in the city, that Harvey wanted to start a family here. What would his wife Gilda think? Two-Face realizes what Batman is trying to do, and knocks him out with a strike from his gun. The villain goes to the office of Harvey Dent to confront his former assistant who provided Sal Maroni with the acid, causing his transformation. The results are the same, and Two-Face leaves his coin at the scene. Batman responds to the bat signal at the GCPD and finds Two-Face there, waiting for him. He tells Batman he did what needed to be done, and as Commissioner Gordon arrives, Harvey tells them both that organized crime is now gone. With Sal Maroni and now the Roman dead, the long Halloween is over. Gordon tells Harvey he went against everything he believed in, but Two-Face responds by saying not everything. Harvey turns himself in to the police and reveals that there was a second holiday killer all along, to the surprise of Batman and Gordon. They assume Alberto Falcone and Harvey Dent worked together in some way, or that they shared the same M.O. At Arkham Asylum on Christmas Eve, we see that Harvey is restrained in his cell, thinking of Gilda. We cut to her packing boxes at the house, planning to move away from Gotham City. She opens the basement furnace and burns Harvey's documents pertaining to the holiday case. Everything regarding the type of pistol, baby bottle nipple silencer, what was left at the crime scenes. She even destroys clothing identical to what the holiday killer was wearing, revealing that she was the one who committed the crimes, and that Harvey might have just had the same idea she did. Harvey and Gilda had worked together without even knowing it, wanting to have more time to themselves in the end. She wants the city to think it was Alberto Falcone because in her eyes, Harvey can never do anything wrong. So that's Batman The Long Halloween, easily one of the best Batman comics of all time, for a multitude of reasons. The main one, at least for me, is due to its focus on the detective aspect of the Batman character. The Long Halloween is a brilliantly crafted murder mystery, a whodunit, featuring countless twists and turns, and even red herrings sprinkled in throughout that keep you guessing every step of the way. The identity of the holiday killer isn't so black and white, because it was different people at different points throughout the year. Originally, Gilda Dent was the culprit, committing the first 7 murders. Alberto Falcone had faked his own death on New Year's, and a few of the following kills were to cover up the fact that he was still alive, like the gunsmith and the coroner. Taking responsibility for all of them made Alberto important, so he could stick it to his father. He was never allowed into the family business, and no one ever listened to him. It was a way for him to be noticed. Two-Face becomes the third and final holiday when he kills Carmine Falcone and Harvey Dent's former assistant, Vernon Fields, on Halloween. The comic goes out of its way to paint Dent as Holiday very early on. Being the district attorney, he is given blatant and believable motivations, not to mention several suspicious scenarios. Gilda even finds one of the handguns that he says is evidence he brought home, further strengthening your assumptions, and for the longest time, Dent acts as the prominent red herring in the narrative. Trying to piece together clues throughout the story, Batman believes Holiday is any number of people. Catwoman, the mother of the first victim, Johnny Vitti, named Carla, possibly Calendar Man, despite him being locked up for the entire duration of the murders, Sal Maroni, and of course, Harvey Dent. In many ways, you could say Batman was grasping at straws at certain points throughout the year, and I don't blame him. Speaking of Calendar Man, his inclusion in this story was notable, in that it was his reintroduction into the DC universe. He was turned into a serial killer who committed his murders around various calendar dates, much darker and sadistic than his previous incarnations. His similar MO to the Holiday Killer is why Batman goes to him for assistance in finding out who the Holiday Killer is and where he will strike next. Calendar Man knows the identity of Holiday, and his cryptic messages to Batman are reminiscent of the ones Hannibal Lecter gives to Clarice in The Silence of the Lambs in order to find and capture Buffalo Bill. Jeff Loeb's writing in this storyline is superb, and the art by Tim Sale is simply incredible, giving Batman, The Long Halloween, a very distinct flair and gloomy feel. Characters like the Joker have very elongated limbs and facial features, and I love the splash pages for each holiday kill. The use of color draws your eye right to the item in question, related to that given date. They're some of my favorite images from the entire story. Now, another element of this storyline that makes it so great that I have yet to mention is its depiction of Two-Face's origin. I think it's paced about as perfect as you can get, and is not only faithful to the original one from the comics, but also provides a lot of new ideas as well, allowing it to stand on its own. Not only does the story make you question whether or not Harvey is the Holiday Killer, but it foreshadows his transformation into the disfigured villain, with not only its artwork, but the subtext as well. It speaks of good and evil, and the fine line between the two, people living separate lives, and if it's possible to somehow balance both, and what this gray area does to a person in the end. Do they remain all good? The stuff with Harvey and his wife Gilda strengthen those themes, and add a lot of tragedy to this story as well. You want to see them happy, but as long as this Falcone business is on the table, Harvey can never truly be free. The Roman case eats away at him, because organized crime has a stranglehold on the entire justice system, and his wife notices that Harvey is changing. He's losing himself, who he is. That's why he's willing to make a pact with Gordon and Batman to put an end to it once and for all, and when he becomes Two-Face, he explains that his actions had to be done in order to achieve the final goal. He compares justice to a flip of a coin, it being chance, complete random, the terrible things he does, allowing his coin to act as judge, jury, and executioner, is no different than what the legal system was doing to members of the mob in Gotham City. They were either let go or bailed out, allowing the pattern to repeat itself over and over again. At least now the heads of the two crime families have been punished. Harvey got his revenge and has essentially eliminated organized crime in Gotham. Batman: The Long Halloween is one of my personal favorite comic storylines, because it plays to Batman's strengths with its detective element. It also features a large cast of iconic Batman villains that face off against the Dark Knight at certain points throughout the story. The origin of Two-Face is executed well, and the fact that it takes place over the span of 1 year, from Halloween to Halloween essentially, makes it a fun read in that regard too, especially during this time of year. Well, that concludes Halloweek 2020. I hope you enjoyed watching all the videos I had planned for this year. Some of the stories were ones I got to revisit, and others were some I got to read for the very first time, which was a lot of fun. From the bottom of my heart, I want to thank each and every one of you for supporting my channel, my content, and everything it is that I do on here. Without you, none of this would be possible. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and bell icon to be notified of all future content I release. Go over to Patreon and check out the rewards I got on there. Anything from getting your name in the credits of my videos as a producer, or even suggesting a new comic or game for me to review. I also have a bi-weekly podcast on SoundCloud called Podcast NerdGasm, and on Patreon, a monthly exclusive podcast as well. Despite 2020 being absolute hell and being limited in what we can actually do during this time of year, I still want to wish you all a happy and safe Halloween. Halloween is by far my favorite time of year, and I can't wait to do all of this again next year. I already have ideas to make it bigger and better. Again, thanks for watching, and take care of yourselves.